Probably just gonna wait for a minute before we officially start. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Christine, and I'm leading the marketing team for Asia Pacific and Japan region at Talkwalker. With us today is Ram, who is our Senior Director for Strategic Accounts and Enterprise, and he will also be our insights expert during this session. Hello, Ram.
Hello, Christine, and hi, everyone. Really excited to be with you guys here.
Good. Whether you're here for a deep dive into using a consumer intelligence platform or to learn about our insights into the changing consumer trends within the APAC fashion and beauty industry, you're in the right place. The webinar will run for about 30 to 35 minutes, and we'll do our best to make it crisp and insightful. Now, very quickly, allow me to introduce Talkwalker to you. We are a consumer intelligence company helping global brands combine a broad range of social and owned data into powerful and easy to action insights. By bringing together award-winning technology with the highest levels of customer support, our AI-powered platform connects the dots between what customers think, say, and do. Our platform enables customer-centric companies to drive revenue, increase retention, and reduce costs. So why are we talking about consumer trends today? And why fashion and beauty? So as you know, global lockdowns and travel restrictions have had a big impact on how consumers behave, how they interact with brands. And this, combined with the digital leapfrogging from traditional commerce to e-commerce in retail markets throughout Asia Pacific, presents a huge opportunity for fashion and beauty brands to capture a new slice of the growing pie. In fact, recently we did an annual survey at Talkwalker of the most loved brands this year. This survey covered over 1,200 brands, and we realized that fashion and beauty brands came out at the top. So they made 30% of the brands going on the top 50 list. So for today, Ram and I will take you behind the scenes of using a platform like Talkwalker to generate actionable insights for the fashion and beauty industry. So we'll be touching on consumer trends, emerging product categories, which brand collaborations are grabbing the headlines, and also uncover the emotional and thought profile of the fashion and beauty customer today. We'll show you how the Talkwalker Consumer Insights dashboards can be customized in order for brand, marketing, product, or insights teams to tap into the pulse of the consumer. And these insights could even influence strategic business decisions. So for a minute here, let's assume we're approaching this topic with a blank slate. So Ram, can you walk us through what the data is showing about consumer trends within fashion and beauty industry in the region? And what do consumers really care about?
Yeah, absolutely, Christine. So here, allow me to just go in to the dashboard. But a good way to begin in terms of getting into understanding the landscape is first for making sure that you understand the nature of the data that you're collecting, right? So which really makes sense for your brand. For this, we could really start at looking at your brand's data. These could be either your paid efforts, your own media channels that you publish your content on, or even anyone that's talking about the brand or the industry or the competition in general, right? So these sources could be predominantly from anywhere that is from your market and your industry, but as well as integrating these data into your first party data, right? So, or even your second party data. That could be your consumer research, your surveys that you do, in-store, in-app surveys, NPS scores, etc. And also these support hotlines, all these call center data that you're bringing on could be merged into one singular data set. And depending on the size and scope of the audience that you're talking to, the data could anywhere vary from like thousands to millions of conversations that you need to analyze in a given time, right? So what we've done here is obviously to prepare a dashboard to showcase the thought process of going into the fashion and beauty industry as an example, and how we could decipher the insights, right? Right from the millions of data that we've collected and analyzed, and how we could get into insights very quickly. As you would be imagining, oh, what is this guy really talking about fashion and beauty right here? So here, the idea is to also put myself into a place where I'm not an expert in fashion and beauty, but what the data could tell you and how you can decipher those insights, right? So the first thing that we're doing here is looking at a broader topic, such as fashion in Asia Pacific. Right. And what our AI clustering does here is it goes in and understands the relationships between conversations and clusters a certain set of conversations together to give you the whys behind the conversation. So when people are talking about fashion, what are they really talking about, right? And why are they talking about certain things? So for example, as you could see here on the first section, there is about a 22% of conversations when people talk about fashion is coming in from K-pop, right? And the next 18% is from Bollywood. And you could also go into like smaller chunks of data where you could see how fashion and Miss Universe pigeons are linked up. And there's also a lot of fashion deals, coupons, and deals that are going across, and how the pandemic is affecting the fashion industry and celebrity fashion or lingerie and swimwear fashion that's coming up. So all this is great, right? So what it really tells you about the why is when you click on it. So when people are talking about K-pop, what are they talking about? They're talking about BTS. They're talking about Hina Khan. They're talking about Lisa um, from Blackpink, right? So here you would also be able to see like what are these having associations towards certain set of conversations and which are the brands that have been associated to them. So you could see the likes of H&M, Celine, and you could also look at the likes of Bulgari and Christian Dior as well, right? So here, this gives you an understanding of which brands have been associated with K-pop fashion. But what is also interesting is not just this whole bunch of data sets that we have here on the right, but this crazy looking graph on the left, right? So here, this is not to really put you guys into a spot, but here, this really talks about the relationships between conversation. So if you look at K-pop, and you could see that it has a direct relationship towards Bollywood fashion, and casual fashion is something that is merged in between K-pop. You have the ability to click on the individual nodes in order to understand which content is really driving those merging impacts. And then you could also look at how lingerie and swimwear is been something that's really tying up together with respect to the fashion discounts and deals, right? So here you would be able to draw these parallels and understand where these conversations are having the impact on each other. Yeah. So you have the ability to also slice and go into subcategories as well at a later stage. But the next section that we're looking at is beauty. We looked at fashion, but right now we are looking at beauty. Similarly, you could see celebrity beauty is something that's been hugely spoken about during the pandemic, right? So here you could see all the conversations around celebrity beauty. But what is also interesting is like makeup tutorials that are going. And if you look at makeup tutorials, you could see a common thread in minimal makeup, right? So in that case, people are right now working from home and they don't need to really step outside. Then they really care about minimalistic makeups, and which brands have been really coming up a lot, right? So are there specific brands that are important, right? And you could also see like beauty products and associations, right? So where are they coming in from? Is there a specific market that's been spoken about? And hair care advice that's also coming in, right? So people are asking about what kind of diet, what kind of food that has been associated with beauty as well. So this gives you an overarching analysis on what the trends of the market is. And then you could go into a subcategory, for instance, Christine.
That is really a good overview, Ram. Thank you for showing us through the broader trends within the industry. And now it's really, I think, expected that brands have to adapt quickly to this changing conversation. I'm personally very curious as to which of these product categories are potentially emerging and gaining relevance today in this climate. Can you walk us through that?
Yep, absolutely. So here, some of the things that we have been doing is like jumping into the next subcategory lens, right? So some key things that we could really look from the data itself is casual wear from Lululemon, right? So here you could also see that their profits went up, but it's also relatable because people are looking to wear athleisure clothing, right? So for example, in my case, as a consumer, I didn't buy a shirt in the last 1 year. So which is crazy, but probably this is the second or third time that I'm wearing a shirt to a meeting, right? So which really talks about like how work from home attires have taken over. And here you could also see like, athleisure clothing and work from home clothing have really stormed the market. And what was also interesting is when we looked at mass fashion, right? So here, this is where our visual recognition capabilities come into picture. So what Talkwalker does is not just on text analytics, but also we analyze images, we analyze videos to understand trends. So here you could see what kind of mass fashion that are getting popular, right? And how these mass fashions are being adopted by influencers, brand associations, as well as larger brands. And one of the other important trend that we looked at is also omni-channel approach, right? So how now, obviously, if you're in Asia, most of the countries are in lockdown, correct? So we can't really go in, or we rather cannot go into malls and do our shoppings like we used to do before. So that's why augmented reality, virtual trial rooms, and Snapchat-based filters, all these are getting a lot of traction. So here you could see people are using fit analytics, customer experience, so which really ties into the omni-channel approach. And also secondhand clothing. What was interesting to see is like vegan leather and kind of short sleeve shirts and smaller commissions and online selection of brands that are coming in as well. Yep.
Yeah, so it's really, this industry is becoming more competitive. Every brand has to innovate. The online channel is easily becoming saturated. And this is not just with fashion and beauty. I guess every industry is really feeling this competition now. And brands today are under pressure to come out with new ways to engage the consumer, to capture the demand, and really keep on innovating. What would you say are we seeing when it comes to brand collaborations? And maybe can you share an example of a standout collaboration? So in fashion and beauty industry, or maybe other industries as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So here, when we talk about collaborations, here, first, we will look at smaller collaborations that are happening, right? So right now, brands, especially fashion and beauty brands, they're engaging with these micro and medium-sized influencers in order to push all their beauty tutorials, right? So here you could see from that, from a visual standpoint, it's published on TikTok, which are the brands that are really pushing. And you could also look at possible associations like with MTV or Adidas or Pinterest, right? So which gives you an idea of like what kind of, especially MTV talks about youth culture, right? So in that case, if you're targeting to the millennial audience, then it's a great place to work with. And it also gives you an understanding of like which are the larger content creators and their amplifiers that you can work around, right? But just talking a bit on the larger influencers. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is some of the influencer posts and their tutorials that we found to be really interesting. We would be happy to share that. But some of the larger collaborations that we are looking at is here. You could see the kind of impact that Honor of Kings, along with Burberry, really that association really went viral. So you could see it started from TV and radio. Talkwalker's virality map really enables customers or even clients like yours to really go in and understand how much of an impact that this particular collaboration had, right? What is the kind of engagement that it's got over different mediums and different countries, so to say. But some of the notable collaborations, apart from the Burberry X Honoring Kings, basically like Amore Pacific and Off-White, right? So which is basically an fashion and beauty brand. And obviously this is the gold standard in terms of Lego and Levi's coming together in terms of how they come up with these brand collaborations. And obviously in terms of like Cole Haan and Slack, you wouldn't really relate, or probably it's not a natural inclination towards Slack collaborating towards a Cole Haan, right? So you could see how brands are really leveraging this, and how Slack has been like used as a collaboration platform, and also people talk about it more. So here, how these engagements are really getting those amplifications that they need. And talking on a parallel to another industry, one of the use cases that we've seen is like with the popular QSR, which is like a quick service restaurant brand, where they came up with a collaboration with the leading pop band from Korea, and which really increased their revenue by 26%. So you could see the kind of collaborations that are happening in the industry to be relevant to the audience that they want to talk to, and engaging the right collaborators as well at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's really impressive when we watch these brands kind of like get out of their space, their industry, and work together with parallel brands to come up with something unique, something more memorable, something that really engages the consumer. And after all, I guess every brand today is just really trying to get that share of attention from the audience. So that's an amazing example, Ram. Thanks. I want to be mindful of the time here as well, and leave some time for our audience to submit their questions via the Q&A box. So I'm down to my last question. How is the pandemic changing consumer behavior in general? And are there key considerations that are becoming more important for the APAC consumer today?
Yeah, so I guess one of the things that as marketers or people who have joined the webinar as well, they would know that it's always about considerations, right? So the considerations could be either functional or emotional. So when we talk about functional, just to give you in a layman's term an example, it could be like how people are really wanting to buy a product, right? So is it about convenience, whether it's available in the store near you, or whether it's about the price that they pay for, or the value that they get out of it, or is it about basically the delivery or the design, right? So this could be some of the factors in terms of functional ways that people really could be engaging or purchasing your brand, or wanting to engage with your brand. While as when it comes to emotional, it's more in terms of like the feeling, right? So here it could be something basically like the brand and the association with the collaborators are something that I really encourage, or basically this brand really gives me the emotional, or yeah, someone like a Nike, it could give you like an emotion to go and do it, like you want to go out and run. So is that basically the kind of emotion analysis that come in? Or one of the key things, I don't know, Christine, if you've heard about this term called revenge shopping. I'm guess I'm a bit guilty of it as well, given the fact that we are not able to really travel and we need to spend our money and are let out somewhere. I guess revenge shopping is something that's really coming out as well, where we see people going in and spending on luxurious items, or spending more than that they should on basically shopping. So which is also some of the ways that brands could really tap on. But one example that we see that's really going pretty much on the upward direction in terms of trajectory and trends in the attributes here is sustainable fashion, right? So I guess people are getting more and more about climate change and the world that we live in, which is good for brands to take a stand on what is the kind of sustainable fashion that they're looking at. So some of the key themes that we are looking at when people are talking about fashion and sustainability, you could see there is environmental friendly. They're talking about supply chain. So it's really, really point blank in terms of, so if your supply chain is emitting a lot more carbon footprints, how can you reduce that, right? And how does a brand really come up with a sustainable fashion statement, and how this affects Asia Pacific? But what was also interesting in the beauty and skincare products is basically talking a lot about like natural ingredients, eco-friendly, and how sustainable product really takes care of skincare as well. So what is the benefits of sustainable products that's coming up? So if you haven't explored these kind of initiatives in terms of skincare routines with sustainable products and cruelty-free, like animal animal cruelty and animal hazards. All these are very important themes that are coming up. People are getting more and more noticed and their voices are coming up. And what are the key hyaluronic acid? I don't know if I'm getting this right or not, but yeah. So these are some of the things that are really popping up. So you need to be aware of like what the consumers are really talking about, either from a functional or an emotional need, so that you could tailor your conversations, tailor your products and your messaging accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate to this. I've really changed as a consumer, I think, when it comes to the skincare products that I'm looking at. This can sum up, this theme cloud here that you're showing me can sum up potentially how I'm also evaluating the products that I am getting for myself. So this is great to see.
Yep, obviously. And here you could also see one of the things, yeah, what are the sustainable brands? So when people are talking about sustainability, what are the brands that are coming up like H&M, Unilever, Beyond Meat, Sustainable Goals and Developments, and Doraemon because of their association with Uniqlo, right? So of sustainable fashion. So these are like visually as well as like what are the benefits that are coming up that can really push them towards sustainable fashion and organic cotton, etc. as well.
This is great. I think maybe we should open up to questions soon, but I know Ram, you have a few kind of points you want to sum up as our takeaways. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So here, first and foremost, it's about discovering your audience, right? So first, with the millions of data and millions of conversations that are going around in the ecosystem, how can you find the voice of your consumer and how you can be part of the conversations that they want you to be part of, and how you talk to the audience in the same language. This is going to be imperative and important for any brand, not just the fashion or beauty, but it could be the same across any brand. So first and foremost, it's about understanding your audience and what they really want to get out of you as a brand. And the next thing is about uncovering new trends and strategic opportunities. So when we talk about trends, it's always on a large scheme of things. So these could be trends that are going into basically, individual subcategories. Like for example, jeans. If you take a subcategory as jeans and then understand what are the new trends that are coming up in jeans, right? Or in terms of like, even in terms of athleisure, what are the new trends that are coming up? Are they talking about sustainable athleisure? Are they talking about recyclable clothing, right? So all these are different kinds of opportunities that you can look at. And also, there's one thing about collaborations, but the most important thing is to identify the right collaborations. So just go in and look at how you can potentially look at and identify which are the ideal collaborators who talk to the similar set of audience that you want to reach, or basically even in terms of understanding what is the audience set that you have left untapped as well, right? So in that case, your possible collaborations could come into place. And also empowering your team with actionable insights. So you can have multiple data out there, but how you can get those data to real actionable insights and how you can take them and turn it into business outcomes and values, those are going to be important. So you need to have a methodology in place in terms of understanding how you go from data to insights and how you could take action on it. So we would be happy to hear any challenges that you guys are facing in this space. You could reach out to us and we would be happy to customize something tailored for your industry or for your brand in this case.
Sounds good. Very well put. I believe we have a couple of questions. So let me just start with, the world of sustainable fashion and beauty is constantly growing, right? So how can a brand constantly keep up with the latest developments when it comes to this topic of sustainability?
Yep, it is a great question. So when it comes to sustainability, everyone's talking about it. Everyone wants to be the front runners or the pioneers in the industry or in the market that you operate. So it is about understanding not just from the market or the space that you operate in, but sustainability as a whole. The first thing that you need to be looking at is like, what are the sustainable trends that are happening, not just in your industry, but also in other industries. So how you could leverage those conversations and how you could be a forerunner. And also in certain cases, there would be trends that would be changing according to current situations and affairs in those local markets. So you need to be keeping an eye out for those local trends, like for example, child labor in a particular country, or in terms of like depletion of natural resources in a particular country. So in those cases, which conversations are getting a more forefront, and how it does not go into a crisis or does not put your brand in a black spot. So you would need to be ahead of the curve in terms of looking at those trends constantly, identifying those key opportunities where you can engage with your audience on that front.
I guess the very topic of sustainability is really not superficial, in a sense that it has to be a value that your brand stands for as well, and something that is fundamentally aligned at the end of the day, and not not be seen as a promotional kind of effort, so to speak. When it comes to the next question, when it comes to e-commerce, store reviews, app reviews, these are becoming common, right, for brands to have. So how can I fully leverage consumer feedback on these platforms to build my brand?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. So here, with respect to Talkwalker, when we talk about the data that's coming in from social and online, when we say online, that's a loosely put word. So we have the data that's coming in from e-commerce. So e-commerce sites from, let's say, from Shopee, the Zara. You could look at e-commerce reviews from an SKU or a store level as well, in order to get basically the understanding of your brand, what the consumers are really talking post-purchase, what are the reviews, what are the questions that they ask, and also look at how competition brands are being perceived in the space, and how these could have an impact on your daily communication efforts, so to say, right? So this could be, so you need to be as you rightly put, whoever asked the question, is to look at not just one set of data individually. It's about combining all these data in together: social, online, e-commerce, reviews, everything into one place, to get like an holistic share share of voice, or more so in terms of like a voice of a consumer analysis.
Yeah, really getting a 360-degree picture, if we want to put it that way. Okay, for our last question, how can brands identify which artists, influencers, or even other brands that they should be working with?
Yeah, so here it is more in terms of first defining a plan within your organization itself, in terms of understanding what is the key message that we want to send to our audience, right? So first, and what is the kind of audience set that you want to target? That is the first thing that you need to do, obviously. So once you've defined that, then you can potentially identify, like, for example, if you want to look at fitness enthusiasts for Lululemon, right? So, or in that case, like millennials who are more inclined towards fashion for Uniqlo X Doraemon. In that case, you would be able to go in and set up different criteria, saying, okay, they need to talk about travel, they need to talk about fitness, and they are someone who works in a corporate sector. So if you define a category, then you can come up and narrow down into a list of influencers or potential collaborators that you can work with. And from then on, it's about identifying who talks the right vision and the language that you have, right? So whether your goals and your objectives are the same as them. So it's first, after identification, it's about going in and measuring the kind of impact that they have in the conversations with their audiences, and whether they talk the same or whether they have the same values as you as a company, as a brand. And then next is about engaging them. So it's not just about engaging them and let them alone, but it's also about measuring the impact of their engagements as well. So it's a 4-step iteration approach in terms of identifying, measuring, then engaging, then measuring the impact of the campaigns that you run with them, to determine like what is the ROI or what is the effectiveness of those campaigns.
Very well said. Thank you, Ram. I believe that is also all the time we have today for the webinar. So thank you so much for tuning in with us today. To those who are interested, we have a full report on APAC fashion and beauty trends available on the Talkwalker website. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, Ram, or the Talkwalker team for any questions or follow-ups, feel free to do so. See you in our next webinar. Thank you.